Hmm. See, per what you dey talk, eh?
Hello, good evening. Welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. We don't have enough of you, but we need to keep to our time as much as possible. Hello, can you hear me? Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there any question anybody want to ask before we proceed? Okay. If there's no question, we start from where we left off yesterday. We looked at the sperm morphology shape, and we've gone through what it takes to call a sperm normal or the shape to be normal. All right. And we said that because of the complexity of the formation process, we are likely to have a lot of abnormalities. All right. And those abnormalities would definitely impede the functionality of the sperm. I know the main function of the sperm is to be able to move, okay, from the vagina where it will have been deposited and then move up to the fallopian tube where are most likely to meet an egg which has been released from the female ovary. Okay, so they must have the capacity to move. That's the first thing. Secondly, once they move, they must also have the capacity to be able to penetrate and enter into the ovum. And then begin the process of fertilization, where they are merging with the with the ovum, and then to start fertilization process. So failure to do that becomes an impairment. All right, and we know for a fact that there are so many millions of sperm that are being produced per second, per minute, per hour, and so forth and so on. Right. And of course, you should expect abnormalities. And we said that the abnormalities will occur in the sections of the sperm. And we said that for a normal sperm, you have the head, you have the neck, and then the midpiece. Normally, people think that the neck and the midpiece, we combine them, okay? We combine them, but technically, if you go into it, there's a slight difference between the neck and the midpiece. Okay, as we move along, I'll try to expatiate on that. But mostly, we combine the neck and the midpiece. So appropriately, you can say neck and midpiece. You can't say neck or midpiece. If you say neck or midpiece, it means that the neck and the midpiece are two different things and they can be used interchangeably. So take note. So the next stroke, midpiece, is talking about the neck and the midpiece, not neck or midpiece. Okay, right. And then we also talk about the tail. And each of these regions or sections will have a deformity. Okay, will have a deformity. And we try to take them one by one. We look at the head, and then we considered all the possible deformities that can occur in the head. We concentrated on the shape of the head itself. And then we also talked about the nucleus, which actually contains the chromatin, and for that matter, the DNA, and for that matter, also the genetic material. If you consider that one, we talk about the acrosome. All right. And then all the variety of various forms that it can take where it can result in an abnormality. I think we've done that extensively as much as possible. So the next session to deal with will be the neck and the midpiece. Okay. And then we also know for a fact that the neck or the midpiece, let me put it this way, the midpiece is primarily formed from the mitochondria. I know that for any cell, the mitochondria is the powerhouse. It is the organelle that generates the ATP, the energy, which is used by the cell for its metabolism. All right. So we also realize that as far as the sperm is concerned, its major energy sapping activity will be the movement. Okay. And movement is a propelling of the flagellum, for that matter, the tail. So it is the neck, which contains the mitochondria, that actually generates the energy required for the movement. So any defect in the midpiece area will automatically affect motility. And I've said that, even though we haven't done the semen analysis, we said that once it comes to semen quality or sperm quality, the effect of motility overrides morphology. Okay, so you can have a normal sperm count. if they are all dead or if they are all immortal, it's of no use. If you have few of them which are all actively mortal, they could possibly give you a good result. Okay, so motility is very, very key. And for sperm to have that energy to move, it will also depend on a well-structured midpiece. All right. So it is very, very important to also look at the midpiece and the defects that accompany it. All right. So abnormalities in the neck area, and for that matter, the midpiece, will disrupt the sperm function. And this is what I want to establish. And typically it will impact on the motility. And once it passes on the motility, it's also automatically going to affect the fertilization process, which will also lead to a decreased fertility. Okay. So we know that the neck is supposed to be affixed or fixed symmetrically. Okay, when it says something symmetrical, it means that once you divide the two, one half is equal to the other half. Once we say asymmetric, asymmetric means absence of symmetry. Not symmetry as in where we bury people. Symmetrical, symmetry. Symmetry is talking about the fact that that line it will do that division in a manner that one half will be equal to the other half. Okay. Once we say it's asymmetrical or asymmetry, that means that if you take that line, a certain line of reference, one side is not equal to the other side. Okay. And that is asymmetrical. So what it means is that for the neck to show that kind of symmetry, then it means that you should be able to fix axially. I mean, it should be able to hit the head area. I mean, it's like 90 degrees directly. Okay. Anything other than that will give you an asymmetrical insertion. And once there's that asymmetry, now it gives an indication of a bent or, I mean, it will lead to a bending of the head. Okay. Because the head is supposed to sit right on the neck. If it doesn't fix axially, so that it becomes symmetrical, and now asymmetry, I mean, it's shifted somehow. Then, of course, it will weight. The head will weigh the neck somehow. So the head will automatically bend. And whenever there's that element of bending, it is going to affect movement. Okay, right. So the asymmetry is also described as misalignment. You know, when we say something aligning, that is, I mean, it's like inserting correctly to give you the symmetry that you want. Once you don't get that, it is a misalignment. So asymmetry or misalignment, they are the same thing. And in this case, the head or the neck do not insert directly into the sperm head. And this often give you a bent appearance. We've said this already. Bent or kinked midpiece. Okay. Here, the word kinky. Kinky means a sharp bend in a form that will give you something like an angle. Okay. So sometimes it says angulated, angle, angulated. When it says kinked, it is very, very important to understand the kinky component as opposed to a flexible bend. That's what I was trying to talk about when you say something is sinusoidal, a sinus curve. I'm sure those of you who are good in mathematics, you have the cos curve, the tan curve, and then the sinus curve. And because of the flexibility in the sinus curve, anything that goes in that line, we say sinusoidal. Okay. And that is very well demonstrated when you have a snake moving. You see the kind of, I mean, the curves in it are very, very flexible. All right, good. When it is kinky, it's like it has been so sharp that it is giving you a kind of an angle. That's the kinky, and that one becomes problematic. Okay, right. You can also have abnormal thickness. Here we're dealing with the neck and the midpiece. Right. Technically, the neck is that junction that fixes the midpiece to the to the head, actually. And then what follows is the midpiece. But in actual fact, if you take the whole length of a sperm, we have the head area, and then the neck is joining directly that middle section onto the head, okay, and that's the neck. And so that whole middle section also become midpiece. All right. At the end of the midpiece, we are going to have the rest of the of the tail, or for that matter, the flagellum. The half section of the tail become the principal piece. Okay. And then the last end become end piece. If you want to describe the entirety of a sperm in that manner, you also have the mid piece, the principal piece, and then the end piece. Okay, right. So that will now show that there is a difference between the neck and the mid piece. The neck is actually the one, like the one which is connecting the mid piece to the head. That's the neck itself. And then what follows is the mid piece, and that's the entirety of the mitochondria. Okay, and then after the end of the mitochondria, you have the flagellum also on the tail also following. Okay, and the first portion of the tail becomes principal piece. Okay, and then the last end become the end piece. That is if you want to follow that kind of description. Okay, all right. So here we're talking about the mid piece, for that matter, the neck and the mid piece. Then it should be of even thickness. All right, even thickness. Sometimes you can have abnormal thickness, maybe too thick. And when it's so thick, most probably you have an excess uh, um, um, excess residual cytoplasm. I hope you remember that one. When we said that the cytoplasmic droplet may be a small remnant of the cytoplasm which may be left at the neck region. Okay, that may be very, very small, almost insignificant. Where it becomes large, then it also makes the entire mid piece to be larger or more thick, and that will give you an abnormality. Once that is thick, then it will weigh on the entire neck region, so that the movement will also be going to be compromised. All right. And then it can also be abnormally thin. It can be abnormally thick and it can be abnormally thin. So we are having when it's too thin, then that one too, it means that you don't have enough of mitochondria in there. Okay, for whatever reason, during the process. Remember, all these things can happen at the time of the spermiogenesis, not spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis, the entirety of the process from the germ cell development up to the end. We are talking about the phase where the round spermatid is transforming into the elongated nut, or the elongated sperm that all of us know. That process is fraught with difficulties. Okay, and so that is where you are having the neck region to be composed of the mitochondria. If there is some deletion of the mitochondria elsewhere, somewhere, then it means that the mitochondria will not be adequate. And for that matter, the neck region is going to be very, very thin, and which means that there's not enough potential of that particular sperm to produce energy to support the movement of the tail. So that could also give you a problem. Then we have irregular wave. Okay, so and that's corkscrew. I'm sure all of us know about the corkscrew. Instead of the mid piece being smooth, it is corkscrew of a sort. Okay, so that kind of irregularity there. So that could also give you a problem. And then you have the standard mid piece, and that is usually due to excess residual cytoplasm. All right. Then amorphous. Sometimes there's some kind of debris. I mean, some irrelevant things all around the neck area, and so it gives you the amorphous. Then you have the divided mid piece. You see it, and you see that instead of it being a single piece, it appears to have been divided, and that's bifurcated. So that is also one abnormality. So these are some pictures of the abnormalities of the neck area. Of course, this is a bent one. You can see that this is completely bent. All right, and this one is a thick. The region, so the neck, the mid piece is thick, and this is very, very thin. All right, and this is the asymmetrical. So it is not here. We expect, look at the normal one. We expect it to be fixed symmetrically, axially, about to hit the base of the neck at a right angle. So here you see that it is not at right angle, and therefore it is giving some kind of a bend. So this one is asymmetrical. The irregular, which can also be corkscrew of a sort. Okay, this is where you have the excess cytoplasmic droplet. Okay, excess cytoplasm. All right. And that is all for you in the mid piece. Right. So that is a short one from the mid piece. And then we can have, we are now going to the tail defects. The tail. So the tail defects refers to abnormalities in the structure or function of the sperm tail, which can greatly affect the sperm's ability to swim and reach the egg, ultimately hindering or preventing fertilization. You said that the main focus of a sperm is to be able to travel, move, and travel to meet the egg and cause fertilization. And this is actually facilitated by the movement of the tail. So if there's anything that will affect the structure of the tail, of course, it's going to affect the entire movement, and that could also impede the fertilization capabilities. So common sperm tail defects include, and common one is coiled. So you can use the term coiled or curled or folded. So you can say coiled tail or curled tail, folded. It's the same thing. So the tail is tightly wound, not wound as in a saw, but winding, okay, or folded or twisted or curled on itself. That's a coiled. And once the tail is coiled in this manner, how is it going to move? Because the movement is by propelling. All right. And once it is curled or coiled or folded like this, you're going to have a challenge in the movement. Here we are having terminally coiled tails. What it means is that, remember we said the tail, we have the principal piece and then the end, and then the end piece. We can have the principal piece being okay, and then getting to the end, the end piece, you have the coiling. That is also problematic. All right. And that one too will also impede the swimming or the movement of the. Then a stamp or shot. Stamp here means when I'm sure you know about stunted growth. Stunted growth is, let's say a child once it reaches, if we have some deficiencies, nutritional deficiencies, it's unable to grow. So that's called stunted growth. Stunted growth is like it has it is unable to go beyond a certain length of a sort. Yes, so that's stunted growth. So when you say a stunt a stunted tail. It means it's short. Okay, we also use the word stubby, Stubby. Okay, so any of this means that it is short. And once it is short, it means that it's also going to result in challenges in the motility. And remember, we said that the greatest parameter in assessing sperm quality is its movement. So anything that will hinder movement will reduce the sperm quality. Okay. So once you have a stump or short or stubby tail, it is also challenge. And then you have the multiple sperm tails. And with this multiple, like we said about the multiple heads, usually they are not more than two. Okay. Even though we use the word multiple to indicate anything more than one. So, but technically they're usually around about two. So once it's two, you can say duplicate or split or co-joined. I'm sure all of us know about co-joined or conjoined twins, where you may have a twin that is not separated and they are together. That's co-joined twins. I'm sure all of us have some knowledge or idea about that. So you can have the tail, instead of having it single, you're having two coming out from the what do you call it? From the mid piece area. Okay, all right. So it describes a severe defect where a single sperm has more than one tail attached. The sperm has two or more tails emerging from the head or sharing the same plasma membrane. Remember, we said that the plasma membrane or the cell membrane of the original round cell is what is also covering the entirety of the sperm from the head to the tail area. All right. So here you are going to have the plasma membrane also dividing, okay, and giving you two separate forms of flagella or tails. And that will also give you a challenge in the movement, because as we go into semen analysis, we realize that the movement should also be forward and progressive, go forward. Once you have double tail, you see that they're propelling, this one propelling this way, this one's under propelling this way, and at the end of the day, you may have one movement canceling the other, and then you see that after, instead of moving forward, it is almost stagnant. Okay, all right. So, who can give me? So here you're talking about the plasma membrane being separated. Remember, we said that the covering of the what do you call it? The covering of the stem cell is from the original cell membrane. And so you can have it as cell membrane or plasma membrane. You can give me another technical name for plasma membrane. You can have the cell membrane or plasma membrane, the same thing. A third technical name for plasma membrane? We can try. Okay, go and find out. And the next time we meet, I'll ask. All right. So we have also the tail defects. On tail defects, you also have irregular thickness. All right. I'm sure this one is something that we can all understand, irregular thickness. Of course, you know the bent tail, and then we know the hairpin tail. All right. Remember, when we are dealing with the head defects, we talk about pinhead. We didn't talk about hairpin. We talk about a pinhead. And all of us know about a pin. So a pin will have the head as just let's assume and take it that a nail is a pin. You see that the nail will have a top where you are going to, the capital is going to hit. Okay. So a smaller version, which is the pin, will have a small dot. Meanwhile, we expect the head to be oval. So once you have that dot, this thing on top, that is pin head. Okay. Now this hairpin. Hairpin is completely different from pinhead. All right. So somebody's writing something fantastic. Who is this? Moses Bema. Great. Great. So another name for plasma membrane is plasmalemma. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Moses. All right. So you are going to, I've left the bent tail and then hairpin tail here because I want to expatiate on that. So we talked about it. And then a kinked, we talked about the kink already, which is angular tail. And so there's that sharp bend. And once you have that sharp bend, it's going to give you an angle. So we can say that's sharp angulation. And it's indicative, normally it's indicative of a broken tail. And as you move along, you see that once you have this situation, it usually occurs as, even as an artifact. Okay, there is what you call the cold shock syndrome. Who has an idea about cold shock syndrome? Cold shock syndrome. Somebody should try. Cold shock. Yes, sir.
Please, is it actually COLD, cold?
Yes, please.
That it might have something to do with very low temperatures.
Yeah, so what do you mean by cold shock syndrome?
I think it's different the thing for moving.
Okay, so for example, if you have bacteria and you want to freeze it, okay, if you take the bacteria from room temperature and put it straight away to, let's say, -70, you kill all of them, okay, because there's that kind of sudden change in temperature, and that gives them a shock. And that shock is due to the cold temperature. So, for example, if you want to put something in -70, it's recommended that you put it first in the ordinary fridge, and then from there you take it to -20. Okay, and then from -20 you take it to, so that there is that gradual, the organism will acclimatize itself with the changing ranges of temperature, rather than taking it from let's say room temperature straight to -70. The next time, if you want to recover it, you see that it will not be viable. Okay, so you know that as we move along, we just mentioned cryo precipitation or cryopreservation, where sperms can be preserved. You know that these days with the IVF, okay, with IVF, we are having, and of course with the sperm banks, people are donating sperms, and for them to, they are kept in the cold, okay, and once they are about to use them, you have to retrieve them and thaw them. So this freezing and thawing, if you don't do it properly, if let's say you take the semen from once they have been produced straight away into, let's say, -70, straight away, in recovering them, you will not get them alive. You'll never get them alive. And one of the first things you see is to have. Christian, I hope you are not deceiving yourself. Okay. Right. So one of the things is this kinky or angular tail syndrome, where a lot of the sperms will show broken kind of tails. Not broken as to give you a short distance, but you see them kinky. It's like they have curved in a manner that it is not an ordinary curve. It is not an ordinary turning or coiling, but rather angulated. Okay, and that means that the flagellum and for that matter, the tail is broken. Okay, but that doesn't mean that anytime you see angular tails, a lot of angular tails, it means that is not the case. What I'm saying that sometimes it can result from an artifact. It can result as an artifact where it is not natural for the patient, but it has been the condition has been brought about as a result of, let's say, some external circumstance. That's what I'm saying. Okay, all right. You can also have the tailless. There's no tail at all, and that, of course, would be a severe defect. You also have tails with terminal CD. CD, it's cytoplasmic droplet. And in this case, normally we say that for it to be positioned at the tail end of at the tail end or the end piece of the tail, then it becomes terminal, and that is more of an excess residual cytoplasm than ordinary cytoplasmic droplet. I hope that point is clear. But I think we talked much about that one yesterday. So the presence of terminal droplets can hinder motility. Of course, once you have like a burden, an excess burden at the tail end, of course, it's going to affect the quality of movement. All right. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about bent tails. It's a common phenomenon. And we have singly bent tails, where it is also called a distal reflex. You remember when you say something reflex, you are looking back. So the tail, instead of let's say being straight down, then all of a sudden the tail turns back. Once it turns back as a single bend, that's called singly bent tails. And it's also called distal reflex defect. Okay. There could be a more function of the testicles, especially as a result of all the factors that we mentioned that could affect the spermatogenesis. All right. So it can also be a result of artifact. All right. It can also be an artifact. And this is where you're talking about the core shock. Core shock can occur with any living cell. And I was talking about bacteria. If you want to store bacteria, okay, if you take it straight from your plate and then put it into let's say -70, and that is where mostly, if you want to store bacteria for a very long time, of course, -70 is the best place. If you do it direct, you kill off all your bacteria, okay? And so anything which is living, once you take it from one temperature, let's say at room temperature, straight to a cold temperature, you kill it. That's what we call cold shock syndrome, okay? All right. So the bent tails, which we know is the bending, all of us know about bending or bent, but we have what we call singly bent tails, and this is called a distal reflex. That's turning back of a sort, okay? Turning back of a sort. And that is a phenomenon called distal reflex defect. And it could be a problem from spermatogenesis. problem as one of it could be due to a stress in the production process. Yes, that can. But what I'm saying that it can also be an artifact. Artifact is something which has been occasioned as a result of a certain process or condition which is actually created, okay, which has been created either in the lab or by the user, okay. And it can also even as a result of, we talk about osmotic environment. Osmotic environment is where, let's say, you are collecting semen or you are asking the patient to collect semen, all right, and then the container was not very dry. If the container is not dry and it's taking, it has some water droplets in it, okay, then what will happen is that the water droplets will be absorbed by the organism, and that's osmotic effect, okay, and then they will begin to show some abnormalities. For example, the singly bent tail syndrome will occur. Okay, so as a result of cold shock, which is also one phenomenon, and as a result of osmotic environment, where so that even if you are processing semen, okay, processing semen, you don't need water on your bench. You don't need water. Okay, what you may need and what you definitely will need will be saline, okay, or some buffer, okay. Unless as we move along, you talk about a situation where if, let's say, you don't have diluting reagent and you just want to be very, very odd, you can use ordinary water. Once you use ordinary water, what it means is that once you put water into your semen, you kill them by this osmotic effect. So it means that your diluting fluid, which you will have also killed the bacteria, all right, will, so that for you to be able to count them, you will need a certain diluting reagent to do that. You don't have that diluting reagent. You are using ordinary water. That ordinary water will also, by osmotic effect, kill the bacteria. Sorry, or kill the sperm, so that you can now do your counting. Okay. So all that we are saying is that if you have water on your bench, you are likely to probably introduce some water droplets into the specimen at one point or the other, and that will cause the singly bent tails defect. And at the end of the day, you are going to say, oh, I'm seeing a lot of abnormal sperms with abnormal tails. Because for the sperm to die, straight away, it has to immobilize the tail. The tail is the one which is giving its activity. Okay, so for it to die, it will begin to immobilize it. And immobilization is trying to let it not move at all. Okay, so once that happens, then the singly bent tail phenomena will also occur, and then the thing will bend. But at the end of the day, when you are going to do your sperm morphology evaluation, you are going to say that, oh, a lot of the sperm have bent tails, and therefore they are abnormal. This is all that I'm talking about. So the bent tail effect can be introduced in the lab, and that becomes an artifact. Artifact is something which is not actually coming from the sample, but has been introduced into the sample by an external process. That is, we need to know this one because you have to, it may be introduced into your analysis, and then it will be misjudged as abnormal sperm tails. Okay, right. So, like I said, the singly bent tails can also, especially in the these days where we have the IVF, cryopreservation, where they freeze the sperms and then recover it when they need it. The process of freezing and thawing can introduce singly bent tails, and that will also give you problem in the fertility process. Okay, right. Then we have the hairpin tail. Remember, we have the pinhead. That's completely different. Hairpin, you know that the ladies, when they are using hairpin, something to fix their hair, they will use a kind of pin that will be turning like a loop. Okay, so this is the principle. So a sperm refers so a hairpin tail in a sperm refers to a structure where the sperm's tail becomes bent sharply and folds back on itself to create a hairpin. So here we are talking about, look at the singly bent tails. It will just bend one. Okay, so you see that it has bent, and it gives you a curve. Okay, now here it gives you that curve, and then also the tail end begins to also coil up. So it gives you a loop-like structure. So that's the hairpin. And it's hairpin because what the pin the ladies use to fix their hair is normally something of a sort, like you have if it's a pin or something, it will go around, it will go around and then round, then not a coiling of a sort, but it will turn once, and then once it has turned once, the side that has turned now also begin to also coil. Okay, and that is the hairpin tail. So hairpin tail is completely different from coiled, even though all of them have some coiling. But here it will turn once before the coiling takes place. But with a coil, the whole thing is coiling and coiling and coiling, coiling. Okay, all right. So the coiled tail will coil up and then lies on top of or wraps around the head. Okay, so that is it. So it just begins to coil and coil, coil. Here we are talking about the entire thing, the title coiling and coiling and coiling. Okay, but with the hairpin one, it will give you a first bend. I think we have the singly bent tail syndrome. And then after that, then the rest of the tail will also begin to coil. That's the difference. Okay. Okay. All right. So these are some defects of the tail. Okay, some defects. Of course, this is a normal one. So this is a no tail. This one you are seeing here is the mid piece. So this is rather a short tail, multiple one, double, and then you have a coiled one. You have the bent one like this, and then we have the hairpin one, and then we have the terminal droplet. Okay, these are all the, but once you see them in rare specimen, I'm sure you'll be able to identify them. Then we have a complex structure called teratoid. Remember, we said that abnormal forms, okay, abnormal forms of sperms. What terminology do you have for abnormally shaped or sperms with abnormal morphology? What terminology do you use?
Teratospermia.
Teratospermia. Okay. Now, so teratos got to do your structure, abnormal structure. Now, so you have the teratoid. Meanwhile, OID as a suffix means something like. So you are having a sperm whose structure, I mean, you can't even define it. And, you know, in especially in parasitology, if you are dealing with two examinations, we have artifacts and we have oddities. Who can tell us a difference between artifact and oddity? Artifact and oddity. Just try. You are doing microscopy, especially from in stool microscopy. What will you describe as an artifact and what will you describe as an oddity? Okay, artifacts will always have an element of semblance. Artifacts will always have an element of semblance. It will look like something. You need to be very experienced or have a good knowledge about it. Otherwise, you mistaken it to be something. All right. So even if you have air bubbles in through microscopy, if you are not experienced, you think that they are tinea X. Okay. Now so if you have a debris on a red cell, if you don't take it, you think that it's malaria parasite. Okay. And so artifacts will give you a semblance of something. Artifact. Oddity is, I mean, you can't, yeah, odd. Oddity is coming from odd. When you say something is odd, it's weird. It doesn't, you don't even know what it is. Okay, you wouldn't know what it is. I mean, this thing, it doesn't resemble anything. And you are unlikely to mistake it for something. You are very unlikely to mistake it unless you don't have any experience at all. If you don't have any experience at all, then anything you say, oh, that is it. If you have a little experience, then the thing, this one is resembling this, no. Then you ask yourself, but if it were this, you should have A, B, C, D. Because it doesn't have this A, B, C, D, it could not have been. Then you know that it's an artifact. Oddity, it doesn't resemble anything. It takes a naive person to take an odd thing to be something. Please, are you following me? Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, so that's the difference between oddity and then an artifact. Artifacts always resemble something. Now, oddity, so we are talking about a teratoid, and OID means something like, of a like. Okay. Now, we are talking about teratoid means also, abnormal structure. So you are looking at a sperm cell, and you don't even, you have to look at it very critically to know that this is an abnormal sperm. Otherwise, you may even say that it is nothing. Okay, so a teratoid refers to mostly severely malformed. It means that the morphology has been so bad, structurally defective, and grossly misshapen. That the shape is it doesn't look like a sperm. And that's barely recognizable as a sperm cell, and often with a quiet tail superimposed on the deformed head. So you see something like this, some of these things, and if you are not experienced, you may not consider them as sperm cells. So these are complete sperm cells whose morphology, which structure has been so badly damaged that you may not even, if you are not careful, you don't think that they are even sperms. So these are teratoids. Teratoids, that is sperms with grossly abnormal structures. Grossly abnormal structures. Okay, so that is. Somebody want to ask a question? Okay, so these are teratoids. They are sperms, all right, but you may have to look and look and look again before you convince yourself this is a sperm. Otherwise, you think that they are not sperms. You may not recognize them as sperms. So tartar sperm, the most severely malformed of the defective sperm cells. All right, good. So these are, the rest will be some defects. And now you're going to look at some of the defects in all the sections that you talked about. So this is a normal cell, condensed. When you say condensed acrosome, then you see that the acrosome is virtually not there. Okay, so you see the darkened portion is the what do you call it? That's the nucleus, and for that matter, the genetic material. All right. The acrosome is supposed to cover about 40 to 70%, if you remember. Okay, and so once you have this one, it means that the nucleus was not well packaged. If it is not well packaged, it means that it can become loose. Once it becomes loose, then it spreads throughout the entire space of the head. And once you stain it like this, it can either cover the entire region or leave something small here. So this one, for example, you can say it is acrosomeless. Acrosomeless. Once you say acrosomeless, it means that there is no acrosome. But this one, there's a little bit of an acrosome, all right. But you have a condensed nucleus. And of course, this is a small head, large head, double-headed, double tail, abnormal neck, and this defects in the tail. You can, all the things that we talked about. This is a singly bent tail, and so forth and so on. Right. So the rest are all left with some pictures of the types or forms of the morphologies. You always will have a normal type so that I can guide you. So the head defects, these are all, it will be a constricted head. You see that instead of having a smooth contour, you're having this space constricted. Okay, all right. So this acrosomeless, the one I was mentioning, that if you look here, there's virtually no acrosome. This acrosomeless. They have the middle piece defects, right? Middle piece. And like I was saying, the neck is actually the connection between the head and the mid piece. This is the neck. Then here becomes the neck, the mid piece. But you can't talk about the mid piece without talking about the neck. So we normally combine them as neck and mid piece. But what people do is that they say neck or mid piece. If you say neck or mid piece, what it means is that the two are the same and they can be used interchangeably, which is wrong. Okay, right. So these are drawings and tapered, piriform, no acrosome, small head, and these are all pictures for you to help you. This is vacuolated. Okay, vacuolated, and you can have a situation like this, which we call a diadem effect. We'll talk later about that one. Where here you have the vacuole, but the vacuole is covering the entirety of, or a larger portion of the head. Once you have so many vacuoles, if the nucleus is not condensed properly, this note here you have the nucleus. If the nucleus is not properly condensed, what it means that the vacuoles here will cause some indentations. I hope you understand indentations. Will cause some depressions within here. And those depressions are also called craters. Indentations here. If you have too many vacuoles, if you have too many of them, they form something like a ring. And this ring-like formation of vacuoles is called a diadem. And once you have so many of them and the nucleus is not well packed, then they'll put pressure on the nucleus to create some indentations. Those indentations are called craters, C-R-A-T-E-R, craters or indentations. So elsewhere, sometimes you can call this one diadem crater defect, because the diadem is just the formation of the vacuoles, and the crater is the indentation they cause. So it is this one, the diadem, which is the ring-like structure here, which we'll call the craters. So it's like the two go hand in hand. So you can have a diadem defect, and then you can have diadem crater defect. If you have this alone, the rings alone, and there is the condensation then it is also an indication of the integrity of your DNA structure. I hope that point is clear, because as we move along, we're going to talk about the chromatin and, for that matter, DNA integrity. And sometimes you may not do any sophisticated test if you're able to demonstrate macroscopically that you have vacuoles that are creating indentations here. Then it means that you are able to demonstrate, or we have observed the diadem crater defect. And that straight away tells you that the inverse of it is that then you have a problem with your DNA condensation. I hope that point is good. So these are all some of the diagram of structures of the sperm. Right. So we are also, I'm going to take you through another session of did I talk about the I'm coming. Sorry, let me. All right. I thought I made, okay. All right. I'll add a little. Okay, we have the diadem effect here, defect, but I didn't add a diadem crater. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Did I talk about this one? I think I so that was on the head defects. Okay, so let me talk a little about this. The nuclear vacuoles. I think it was under the head defects. I don't know if I could take that one again. That when you have the vacuoles, remember we said that if you have some one or two small vacuoles, just as you have some little remnant of cytoplasm, they are all normal. Once they go beyond a certain size, especially with the cytoplasm, then become the excess residual, which is now an abnormality. Again, with the vacuoles, if you have one or two vacuoles which does not occupy up to 20% of the head area, it is normal. Once the vacuoles are large, then that also becomes an abnormality. Now, if you have several vacuoles, okay, then they can give you the knob defect. The knob defect is where they will push up, the vacuoles will push up so that the acrosome area, which is supposed to give you that oval shape, will now rather bob up, will give you a knob. That's the knobbed this, and that's also called the diadem defect. Now, we're saying that when you have too many vacuoles, they form like a ring, a crown of a sort. And then that is also the diadem defect. Okay. Now I'm saying that where the nucleus is not properly condensed, then those vacuoles will also put pressure on the condensed nucleus to create some indentations in there. Those indentations are called craters, this ones. So then you can have the diadem crater defect. Okay, the diadem crater defect. This is, I think I didn't explain this one properly, and I have to take it again. So when you have vacuoles, they can give you a knobbed one where the pressure is up, and then the acrosome area will give you a knob. That's a knob. Now, you also have a situation where now the condensation of the nucleus, and for that matter, the condensation of the DNA was problematic. Or let's say it was not well condensed. If it's not well condensed, then the vacuoles will put pressure on it and cause craters, indentations in them. And in that case, you have two defects all taking place at the same time. The vacuoles, which is giving you that ring-like or crown-like structure, which is the diadem, is also creating indentations. And that indentation is the crater. So it gives you a diadem crater defect. Once you are able to observe this under the microscope, if you're able to stain your slide, and as we do Semenolysis, we are going to go through how to stain our slides. Stain a slice, then you'll be able to examine your slides at times 1,000. When are you going to get times 1,000? What does it mean? With your ordinary microscope, how are you going to get times 1,000 magnification? Yes.
By using 100.
Fantastic. Yes, if you are using the oil immersion, which is the times 100, then of course your objective is times is 100, and then your eyepiece is always fixed at times 10. So times 10 multiplied by the 100 will give you times 1,000. Fantastic. So if you see 1,000 magnification or 1,000 times microscopy, what it means that use oil immersion or the times 100. Okay, so what it means is that, and whenever you stain a slide, I'm sure you know that you do the examination with the oil immersion. All right. Now you'll be able to observe a lot of vacuoles. And vacuoles are unstained spaces within the nuclear area. And you can see either as knobbed or as craters. Once you are able to demonstrate the diadem crater defect, what it tells you is that your chromatin has a problem. And for that matter, the condensation, and you know that once you have DNA condensation challenge or problem with the condensation, then it means that even if the cell is normal, I mean, outside looks normal, that sperm is not going to be able to fertilize an egg. Okay, so the observation of the diadem crater defect, which can easily be observed using times 1,000 microscopy, which is oil immersion. It can be used as a relatively good biomarker or method for DNA chromatin assessment. Okay, so once we do the Semenolysis, we may also touch a little bit on this, but we are taking this opportunity to have a good, a first-hand view about what is called the DNA chromatin assessment, which we can use a lot of biomarkers, but the simplest way, inexpensive way, is to be able to demonstrate the diadem crater defect. I hope the point is clear. All right. So now the rest will be hello. Hello.
Hi, Jonathan. Yeah, here.
Okay. All right. So I thought that. So the rest is going to be pictures of some slides, some micrographs, Right. So wait a minute. I'm going to load that one, and we take you through that one. So, right. So, we will be. Hello, can you see the slide now? New slide.
Yes, please.
Okay. So these are some micrographs that are compiled by C. Brazil, who is also an andrologist, specialist in andrologist. And we have as much as about, you have plate one, you can have as much as 15 of them and more. So the rest, you take this one for your exercise for Thursday. So you'll be done with all that you have to know on the Semenology, the production, and so forth. So come Monday, you are going to start the Semeanalysis lectures. Semeanalysis lectures. So the second, all this one, the plate one, and then the previous one will all be uploaded for you, hopefully by tomorrow. And then you have to take very good look at them. And then if you have a problem, once you meet on Monday, we will discuss them. But look at all the things that you talked about and look at the pictures and see what you can make out of them. And all of them you'll be able to identify them. So this plate one, for example, from 1 to 20, all of them are normal. So this is sperm, and then this is plate 1 to 20. All of them are normal. The head shape is normal, mid piece is normal, and then the overall. So one is saying PP, I'm sure. What will PP stand for? What will PP stand for? Hello? Hello?
Principal.
What will PP stand for? Principal piece. Remember we said that we have the mid piece. The mid piece, immediately after the head, what links the mid piece to the head is actually the neck. But the entire mitochondrial section is the mid piece. And then from there, you are getting to the tail. The tail, the first section of the tail is the principal piece. And then the last portion will be the end piece. All right. A lot of the time, if your principal piece is normal, the rest is likely to be normal, unless there is, what do you think will happen at the end piece? Unless there is,
CD.
Yeah, CD. Very good. Once you are getting these things, it makes me so happy. All right. Once the principal piece is normal, the rest is likely to be normal, because the only thing that will make it abnormal is one, the presence of a CD, which is cytoplasmic droplet. You understand? So this one is saying that all the things that we are seeing here, all of them, technically, they are all normal. So the PP is up to the PP area, because if you look at this, just like this, you see that we are only demonstrating the principal portion area, the principal piece. The end piece is missing. Okay. Otherwise, you say that all of these have short tails. And if they have short tails, they could not be normal. Okay. But he's saying that if PP is okay, then the NP is also likely to be normal, and then the entire sperm is normal. So this is the first plate. All right, you have a lot of them. So this one, straight away, once you see them, we have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. All of them, they are abnormal. And this will tell you where the problem is coming from. So for example, number 1, the head shape is abnormal. Look at the head shape. Of course, it could be amorphous. Okay. And then if you look at the mid-piece, the mid-piece here is so thick. And there could even be debris. Let me see if I can get the pointer for you. Apart from being thick, you see that there's some waste around, and that could also make it dead. So it means that the head is abnormal. But please, you can have combination of abnormalities. It doesn't mean that once the head is abnormal, all the rest should be normal. No. I hope the point is clear. You can have a combination of the abnormalities. One head, one sperm could have a defect in the head, could have a defect in the neck, you could have a defect in the tail. Okay, sometimes you can have only the defect in the head. The rest, the mid-piece, everything is normal. Sometimes the head is normal, and then but you can have a combination of abnormalities. Okay, once there is one abnormality, the entire distance is abnormal. You can have, we talk about a teratoid, where some could be everything is abnormal, and sometimes you don't even know whether it is actually a sperm or not. That's the teratoids. So teratoids are also abnormal sperms, but they are severely abnormal. Okay, so this will help you to take. Sometimes you don't even have to look here. You don't have to look at the table here. You yourself will look at this one yourself and try to check the abnormalities. Okay, all right. Check the abnormalities yourself. You yourself will be able to know that. Because here, for example, they only say that this is abnormal. But what kind of abnormality? You yourself will look at this one and you say that this amorphous head. But here they only say that it's abnormal. So what is the abnormality? You yourself will be able to notice the kind of abnormality that you are looking at. Okay. All right. So, and there are a lot of them. So once they are uploaded, for example, this number 13, there are some 2 vacuoles, greater than 2 vacuoles. But here I can hardly see, I can see only 2, but they say there are more than 2. So probably you can see better. Okay, you can see better. But here they are greater than 2 vacuoles. And then the PA here will be post-acrosomal vacuole. Okay. Remember, we talked about post-acrosomal, where you can, so probably what makes it even worse is the post-acrosomal. So post-acrosomal means it is on top here. So I'm thinking that the small white something here is also a vacuole. But greater than 2 vacuoles, they are post-acrosomal vacuoles. Okay, and that is, so you can look at them one by one. You yourself assess yourself. You assess yourself before you even look at the responses that you have been given. And there are too many of them. There are so many of them. That's why I'm not going to meet you on Thursday. So you yourself will look at them, assess yourself, and go through all of them. There are about 15 plates. That's a lot for you for Thursday. All right. On that note, we are bringing today's session to a close, unless you have a problem. And then we are not meeting on Thursday. We'll meet on Monday, God willing, and start semen analysis. All right.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
so from our past presentations, we understood that if the stem cells are not in the right form, they are not being added. So how come at the end of the day, sometimes when
They are not being added? I don't get it. They are not being added where?
You see, if they are not in their right forms, they don't join the normal ones. They go
Okay.
back. So
Okay.
how come?
Probably you didn't get me. I'm saying that the apoptosis. If there were no apoptosis, then it means that the sperm that come out, about 99% of them will be very bad. Okay.
Yes.
So, but remember, apoptosis will take some, but they cannot take all of them.
Oh, okay.
See the amount of sperm that are being produced per day, per minute. There are so many. All right. So they will try to. Some will sail through.
Okay.
And we said that once they have even passed through the testicular stage, where they move to the epididymis, even through the epididymis, they go through maturation process. The maturation process also include trying to ensure that all the bad ones will be taken care of as much as possible. When I say bad, it doesn't mean that all and all. That's why I said that when we come to semen analysis and we do the morphology assessment, morphology, we are going to go by what you call a strict morphology criteria by WHO. And that one will put normal range to be 4%. Can you imagine 4%? 4%. What it means is that look at all the abnormality that we are talking about. If you're able to look at the cells and then pick out all the least amount of abnormality, you see, we know that for a normal sperm, you should have this shape and dimensions of the head, this shape and dimensions of the midpiece, this shape and dimensions of anything, any slightest deviation of it is counted as abnormal. Can you imagine how many of them will be taken as abnormal? So many. So by going by that strict criteria, it places normal range of morphology at just 4%. So that what it means is that if you're able to get 4% normal sperm cells as per the criteria of normality, it is supposed to be normal.
Great.
Okay, just 4%. So what it means is that they anticipate that the sperms, that so many of them will be abnormal, especially if you are going by the criteria that all of us have gone through. If you are going by the criteria all of us have gone through, a lot of the sperms will be abnormal. Okay, and despite the fact that even the epididymis will also try to mop up those that are immature, they will try to, those that are abnormal, they try to put them to shape a little bit, and those that they cannot do anything about it, they also try to kill them. Once they kill them, they will absorb them. Okay. They also phagocytize them. They have the capacity to do so. So all of them to reduce the quality, the quantity of abnormal sperm that are coming out.
Yes.
Okay. So at any particular point in time, hello.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you have immature cells.
Yes, you can still have immature cells, especially if the epididymis is also dysfunctional. If the epididymis is dysfunctional, for example, we are going to have a lot of sperms with cytoplasmic droplets around the midpiece. Remember, we said that you can have cytoplasmic droplets around the midpiece and to be normal. But if it's too large, what it means, cytoplasmic droplets are excess of the cytoplasm which was not used in the building up of the sperm cell. Okay, and they are supposed to have been extruded in the testicular area for the Sertoli cells to phagocytize them. They couldn't do that, and then they come to the epididymis. The epididymis is supposed to do the rest of it. Sometimes they're also unable to, if they are dysfunctional, if the epididymis is dysfunctional, if you have had epididymitis. You have had an infection that have transited into medicine. So it means that the epididymis is also going to be dysfunctional. And therefore, the work is supposed to do, you cannot do it. And it create a lot of so all those things. That's why if you're seeing the immature sperm cells, so you can also investigate if the patient has an infection in the epididymis area. You understand? So you're not just going to write a report and go away. You are going to write a report and have an idea about where the problem is likely to be coming from. Okay.
Great. Thank you. That was what
you are welcome, sir. So if you go to the plate, you are going to see a lot of things, and those that you are unable to understand them, you can put them down. Once you meet Monday, you can take them, you can go through with you. But I'm sure that if you followed all the discussion that you've done, you yourself, you mark yourself that everything that, if let's say 15, for example, you'll be able to even tell yourself the problem. So because they say the hair shape is abnormal, to heart extent is abnormal. You have to see that if you look here, there's virtually no acrosome, just very little. So the acrosome, we know that the acrosome area should be between 40 to 70%. So once you have this one is way less than 40%. And so that is the cause of the abnormality. Okay. So I'm saying that all the explanations that they have given, you can even give better explanation than what has been given. Okay. All right. Okay. So we will end here, and I'm praying and hoping that you have time to go through this slide, because it is my duty to go through with you. But I'm hoping that with what we have gone through already, you should be able to also understand this and do it on your own. On that note, we bring today's session to a close. No meeting on Thursday. I'm saying that I'm hoping that the slides will be uploaded by tomorrow. So Thursday, you will have access to them, go through, and then so that by Monday, you'll have actually understood all the things that we've talked about. And you meet a lot of things that we discussed. We are going to meet them again in semen analysis. Okay. And you're not going to do the semen analysis just raw like how you do semen analysis. You're going to also go through every parameter, why we do this and the reason behind them, the science behind them, and if you do this, what will happen, and so forth and so on. So that's also going to take us a whole lot. Okay. All right. All right. Can we go off if there's no problem, no question? Okay. See you Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.